I'm currently on my way to go to a beginner's boxing course here. And for those of you who've watched all 3 videos on this channel, and those of you who know me, I guess I wouldn't be considered a beginner anymore in boxing. But one of the things that I think is very understated, whether it comes to boxing, whether it comes to sales, is focusing on the fundamentals. And part of the reason I like going to these beginner boxing courses when I can is because it allows me the ability to really refresh myself on some of the basic things that I take for granted. And I do the exact same thing in sales. I train a lot of my salespeople to focus on a lot of the basic things that I expect of them. And the reason I do that is because if they can deal with the foundation, they can get to a point where they can execute some of the more complicated things that I've trained them to do. And in boxing, it's very much the same. One of the biggest things that I've lost sight of in some cases is that I want to start doing some fancy or slick shit that I've learned in different classes or from different coaches or different one-on-ones that I've taken. And what I end up finding is that it ends up detracting from some of the foundational things that I was doing very well. And then I start to become sloppy at those things. And then I start looking, a month goes by or 2 months goes by, and I start watching footage of myself in sparring or even shadow boxing, and it seems like everything is sloppy. So I like to go back to the foundation sometimes, or the basics, to really get myself and keep myself in check and keep myself focusing on some of the fundamentals that I start to take for granted. But there's also another reason that I really like going back to the basics, and that's because there's other people who are learning a lot of these things for the first time. And one of the things that I do a lot when it comes to sales training is I train a lot of my guys to teach and coach and mentor the new people. And it's not because it makes my job easier. It does make my job a little easier, but it's because it helps them get way better at what they do. It helps them get way better at what they know and crystallizing that knowledge of the things that they know. And it also helps them refresh themselves on the basics and get intuitively better at it. There is a lot of great research that shows that if you coach people or teach people something that you know, your understanding and knowledge of that goes up tenfold. And in a lot of ways, what I realize is when I go to these beginner boxing courses, what I find sometimes is that things that I almost take for granted when I'm in a position where I can start coaching or mentoring someone who's completely brand new, things that I take for granted, they start to become a lot more crystallized in my brain. And I start to realize and remember a lot of the nuances by watching that person misexecute it or not get the thing that I'm trying to coach them on. And those things really help me get that much better. And they really help me understand in a very intuitive way how to execute things that I've learned better than before. And so I never discount going back to the basics. It's one of those things that you hear a lot from a lot of coaches, trainers, influencers, all these things. But realistically, in my opinion, it's one of those things that if you can do that, you can go back to the basics and really understand the foundation of things, but also be able to help others understand those things, you can supersede a lot of people in your understanding and your knowledge just by those things alone.